Yes, folks, Katie Hopkins has once again been attacked by the left for simply exposing the obvious. This time she's in the dog box for calling out Jacinda Ardern for her blatant bias towards Muslims over Christians when it comes to terrorism. So I'll start with her tweet. Your move, Jacinda Ardern. I expect you to be dressed as the Pope, ringing church bells across New Zealand and praying in Latin in Parliament by noon. And this has got the left in knots. This has got their knickers in a twist. But Hopkins did this simply because Jacinda Ardern had done the same for Muslims after Brenton Tarrant killed 50 people in Christchurch. But she simply has not paid the same respect to Christians when they were attacked by Muslims in Sri Lanka. Now in New Zealand, Ardern dressed as Muslims are dressed. She dressed in their attire. She prayed with Muslims, and she spoke Latin in Parliament. Not Latin, sorry. She spoke Arabic in Parliament. Now, folks, let's listen to Grant Robertson, New Zealand's finance minister, and see what he has to say.
Just one quick, I don't know whether you can comment on this. This is just going back to Sri Lanka. An outspoken British writer, Katie Hopkins. Now, she's hit out at Ardern. It was disgusting. She says she now expects her to be dressed as the Pope, ringing church bells across New Zealand and praying in Latin in Parliament by noon. She's an idiot, but this was obviously after the attacks in Sri Lanka and after Jacinda wore a hijab following our attacks. You got any response to that?
No, you've already used the word I was going to use. She is an idiot, and I'm not sure if she thinks Jacinda's the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka as well as the Prime Minister of New Zealand. The fact is, as I said at the start, it doesn't matter to me whether you're worshipping in a mosque or worshipping in a Catholic church. You have a right to be able to do that and express your faith. In New Zealand, it was a mosque, and I think the Prime Minister behaved completely appropriately in those circumstances, and we've expressed our devastation at what's happened. Katie Hopkins is a publicity seeker, and I hope that's the last time I ever say her name on TV.
Oh dear. So folks, when an idiot like Grant Robertson calls someone else an idiot, you know who the idiot is, and it's certainly not the other person. But anyway, right now we'll go and listen to Katie Hopkins and see what she has said about Jacinda Ardern in the past.
Okay, so look, it's all very sad. We're all very sad. Everything that happened in Christchurch was wrong. It was a horrible terror attack, and we can all condemn it. But must we prostrate everything we are, everything our culture is that we should be proud about? Must we give that up also to show how sorry we are? I just feel that watching Jacinda go about in her permanent headscarf, hearing the call to prayer boomed all over New Zealand, watching the segregation at the memorial. Mummy, why are the ladies all at the back behind a wall? Mummy, why can't the women join in with the men? Try explaining that to your daughters. And I wonder, at the same time we tiptoe around everyone else's culture and give up our own, do we get the same kind of treatment in return should we ask for it? When an Islamist attacks our daughters on Westminster Bridge, or a Senegalese man takes 51 kids hostage because of migrant policies that he wants to protest, or a terrorist on a tram shoots dead 3, do we get the same kind of reaction? A prime minister in a headscarf, the country listening to a different religion, the banning of weapons. I just wonder what it says about the future of our culture that we are always willing to prostrate at the feet of others, but a culture that it seems we're never strong enough to stand up and defend.
Yes, very rational indeed, folks. So who's the idiot? It's certainly not her. But folks, there's a bigger question than this. And the question is this. Why do left-wing women support Islam when Islam is the antithesis of everything they stand for? Now let's go now and listen to Anne-Marie Waters on this very subject.
Speaking about the terror attack in New Zealand recently, or more specifically, the reaction to the terror attack in New Zealand recently, you'll of course know that 50 people were murdered in a terror attack against a mosque in Christchurch, New Zealand. Any decent person condemns this. I certainly do. What I wanted to mention, though, was not the attack itself, but the aftermath of the attack, and the extraordinary things that have happened in the aftermath of this attack. One of them is that the Prime Minister of New Zealand has donned a hijab, and several women in New Zealand have done the same thing, including New Zealand police, female police, who were patrolling and serving wearing hijabs. This they are calling a show of solidarity with Muslims and to provide reassurance to Muslims that they are part of New Zealand society. Meanwhile, women in Iran and elsewhere are arrested, jailed and tortured for taking off the hijab. Now, when this is happening, and Western society, and this is hardly the first time that Western women have put on a hijab to show solidarity with Muslims, who are they actually showing solidarity to? When in Islamic states around the world women are tortured and killed for taking off the hijab, if you put it on, aren't you actually showing solidarity with the people doing the torturing and the imprisoning of women?
Exactly the point, isn't it? That's exactly the point. The left are supporting people that are oppressing women. Now, folks, let's listen to Lauren Southern asking a simple question to feminists.
Values. I'm going to be asking the most difficult would you rather question out there. Would you rather have women's rights or Islam? Let's see how they react. Women's rights or Islam?
I'm not. Is that a real choice? Is that a real question? That's ridiculous. No.
Why is it ridiculous? I think it's very serious.
Considering there's only two options.
Have women's rights or Islam? What?
Why is that even a question?
We're not. This is not about Islam.
Mate,
But your rights are.
Why are you at this rally ask that question? Provoking like an argument, which there's no point. Why can't we just band together about feminism instead of you coming along here and starting a religious debate?
Because some people believe you should be stoned for the crime of being raped, and if you are protesting rape, you should be protesting the people that want to hurt you for being raped as well.
Why are you just letting this go past? Why are you doing this?
Why in particular did you use Islam?
Because there is a big problem with how women are treated under Islam.
Right. So you didn't first ask her whether or not she identifies as a Muslim?
No, I'm asking feminists.
Why are you not asking Muslim women about this? Why are you asking?
Well, you don't see a whole lot here, do you? Their husbands probably didn't let them come.
Oh my God! Did you just hear what she said to me? She said, I don't see a lot of Muslim women here. Their husbands didn't let them come. Dude, you're doing this.
Ignorant.
No, she's doing this with
Haven't
you.
read the Quran.
You are so ignorant, she says. Ah, dear. Yet not one of these women could answer that simple question. Yes, folks, not one of them could answer that simple question. And as of today, I'm still waiting for a lefty to explain to me why they support Islam.